AuthentiKit fans, thank you for joining me again. This is what we're building today. It's a BF109 throttle unit. It's actually the K4 variant, which includes this engine lever. That makes it compatible with the Flying Iron Simulations 109G variant, which doesn't have this lever, as well as the DCS version, which does. I think you'll agree it's a beautiful design, and it has some very nice and innovative engineering in terms of AuthentiKit design approaches. It's also high time that AuthentiKit included some fine German engineering, as well as the British and American warbirds featured so far. This is all thanks to Discord member Dutch, who designed this entire throttle. Well, he had a little help, but fundamentally this is his work. Thank you, Dutch. A huge thanks also to Nadelbaum for alpha testing and creating all the documentation. And equal thanks to Phil Shepherd for beta testing, including lots of reprints. Thank you, Phil. AuthentiKit is a freeware project. We're creating flight controls for a wide range of aircraft with an initial focus on vintage warbirds, followed by vintage and classic general aviation. We're harnessing the power of 3D printing in conjunction with high quality but low cost components like Hall sensors and sealed bearings. All flight controls can be assembled at your kitchen table with no workshop tools, no soldering and no metal work. You can source the parts yourself, or third parties are providing kits of all the hardware as well as 3D printed parts. If you're brand new to AuthentiKit, I should point out that to use this throttle you will need an AuthentiKit Universal Hub in its expanded form. As this unit is primarily a throttle, it plugs into the H2 throttle input, but it also includes this pitch control. Now, there's a separate cable for that, and that goes into H7, the general purpose RAD two-way input. And that needs to be configured then for the pitch control. Finally, there's a third cable for this governor switch. That's loud, isn't it? And that goes into the MISC input, H9. Now, one big caveat here, which is that this Universal Hub, version 1, is currently maxed out of inputs on the circuit board. So it's unable to support this MISC-1 governor switch. However, if you want to use the governor, you can either wait for the Hub 2 upgrade or employ a workaround. And one option for that is that if you aren't using the flight stick, you could repurpose a couple of the inputs there. You've got the cannon and the machine gun, so you could disconnect those and connect up MISC-1. Another option, just as a bit of a hack, is you could use an input like flaps. So you've got a couple of options there available to you. The other dependency, as well as the Universal Hub, is the mounting system, and as usual, this unit has the standard quick release plate, and it attaches to the same mounting plate as any other AuthentiKit throttle to date. This is, of course, rig extension A, which mounts to a regular monitor stand, which you can easily get off Amazon. There is a final dependency, as this control requires our AuthentiKit tuning app to manipulate the inputs for the sim. Let's talk about what you need to build this throttle. Because, again, if you're new to AuthentiKit, you can't just buy this. No, this is freeware hardware. It was designed and shared for free download, and you just need to assemble it. But don't worry, these are not complicated DIY projects. Think Lego or Meccano, something to do with a screwdriver at your kitchen table in about an hour. So you will need a bunch of 3D printed parts like these, and a small number of fairly low cost commodity switches and hardware like these. Now, where do you get the 3D printed parts from? Most people watching this video will print their own on a 3D printer, typically an Ender 3 V2 costing around £200 and sometimes less. You'll need the print files for these, and they're free to download from authentikit.org, and the link is in the description. The download also includes the list of all the parts that you need, with links to where you can source these parts. Most parts are cheap, like these switches, which are around £2 each. However, Unfortunately, there are one or two where the suppliers tend to hit you hard for postage, such as these dampers. So it's often better to buy a kit from our friends at SimKit Supplies. For the big, popular controls, they offer an all-in-one kit, such as for the Spitfire flight stick. However, for smaller kits, or for projects such as this BF109 Throttle, they offer construction kits. So there's construction kit 1, with everything you need hardware-wise. The electronics, the bearings, and the wires, and the ball springs, and so on. This kit contains all the hardware and electronics you need to build this 109 Throttle. And that is construction kit 2, all the screws that you need. Now, the screws in this kit and the electronics and hardware in the other kit actually will build more than this 109 Throttle. You'll still have enough left over for trim wheels and all sorts of extras. So if you do want to build a collection of controls, they can be great value for money. Finally, if you don't have a 3D printer to print your own parts, you can ask SimKit Supplies if they will supply the printed parts. They will introduce you to someone in the AuthentiKit community who is experienced in printing these parts, and they'll print them for you at mates rates compared to commercial printers. The download also includes this assembly guide and this wiring diagram. So let's start working our way through the steps. Okay, step 1, cut out the felt templates and fit the felts, there are 6 pieces of them, to the bottom felt plate, the middle felt plate and the top felt plate. Now you've seen me do this a few times before, so I've already done these. However, I will talk it through so that if you're new to this, you know how it works. And in fact, each time we do these projects, there's often a slightly different approach to the felt templates. I think we're getting better at it each time as well. So there's a PDF, which I'll just flash on the screen now, and you print that out and then cut out these pieces from it. Okay, then you take your strip of felt and overlay the pieces and cut them out with a pair of scissors. Now, a little tip I often find useful to stop the felt shifting as you do it is just to sort of grip the felt with a bulldog clip, and that way you can cut it out and not find it shifted while you're doing the cutting. So that gives you a set of felts. Then it can be a little confusing knowing which bit goes where. So this is something that's been created for this project, and you can see here, let's take this big one first. There is middle felt plate, so that would be this one. That goes there, and then on the back you've got middle felt plate right bottom of plate, middle felt plate left bottom of plate. So basically you've got them all, you've got all 6 of them. So that's that one. You've got this one here, note the 2 holes in the bottom corner, and that's got bottom felt plate right, bottom felt plate left, just nothing on the other side there. And then we've got this one here, top felt plate, nothing on that side, just on that side. So you cut out the felts and stick them on, and it doesn't matter too much if they're not absolutely perfect on the edge. You can see that I'm slightly oversized there, doesn't cause a big problem. So that's step 1. We've got steps 2, 3 and 4 here. Step 2 is a throttle maghaul 6803 HXF, that's the one with the spiky hair. Then we have the engine maghaul, which is a regular 6803F, and then we have the pump maghaul, another regular 6803F. Now the wire lengths and the wire colouring is listed here. The throttle one is 20 cm of red, 30 blue, 30 white. The order of these and the way these are assembled, you probably know already if you've printed other AuthentiKit parts, exactly the same as normal. And I'll link in the video to a slow, carefully described video of how to assemble a throttle maghaul. So I won't take you through that here. We've got the engine maghaul. That's to differentiate these two, by the way. The engine one is the usual red, blue, white, and then the pump maghaul is the alternate red, black, green, in that order, red, black, green from that side. With the lengths. So that's your step 2, 3, 4. Get those ready. And that gets us to step 5, because there are a number of items which are debossed so that you can fill them in using the white silicon technique, which I've shown you before, or there are other versions of the white infill, and I'll link to videos of how that's done. So you've got the pitch lever button, Drahtzahl, if that's pronounced correctly. That can be filled in white and it'll look much better, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And then the Winter Startzug and Schnellstop. They can both be filled in with white lettering and they'll look great for it. So that's step 5 of preparation. Okay, well that's step 5 finished. This is my pretty hasty effort. That's not come out too bad. And I kind of rushed those a little bit. You'll probably do a better job than me. Although I'd like to say that it's got that weathered, authentic look. And that's one of the tricky ones because it's printed on its side. So the depth is a little bit harder. But that's good enough. Again, let's call it weathered. So that's step 5 done. Right, we're on a new section now, the throttle lever. So we're going to put together the throttle lever itself and the mag lever. So these two parts clamp to the mag hall. And we need to fit that lever to the mag lever with, it's that way round, like that, with the little sort of steppy bit in contact with the plate here. And we use 3 pieces of M4 10mm countersunk screws. So one there, and one in the middle here. Okay, that should be good and tight. You don't want that spinning loose in the silver grey lever. That should be good and tight. Okay, so that's number 1 done. Now, we're going to move on to the push to talk button. Now that is a Minic button. We've used Minic buttons before. I'm going to link to the assembly of a Minic button where I kind of go through it a little bit more slowly than I will do now. I've done that in another video and the bits are the same. The only thing that changes each time is the head. So I call that the Minic body, I call that the Minic head, I guess you could call that the Minic neck, and then there's a Minic cap which tends to sit on top, and the head and the cap vary a bit according to the design of the button, but the body and the rest of this is always the same. And it's a very versatile little push button. Very versatile thing. So the way it goes is you put the spring in the slot there, and that clinch, self-clinching standoff, that should, as I've said before, that should move very freely. If that's sticky, the whole button just doesn't feel right. So that's a test of your calibration when you're printing. So on with the spring, on with the head, drop in that screw there, and then just tighten that up, push them together, tighten that up, and that should make sure that the hex on the back sort of drops into the slot so that it won't rotate like that, and that's what you want. So that's 2 done. Now the push to talk wires. We have a black silicon sleeve, 6mm, it doesn't say here, but it's the standard AuthentiKit one. And then we have white and black wires. The lengths are here, and it's easier if we push these wires through the tube first before we start connecting them. Now I find 2 wires is about the limit for just easily sliding them through. When you get to 3, you have to do some tricks, either with some detergent or a talcum powder or something, just to take the friction out. But 2 tends to just go through okay. So slide them through like that, and let's pull them through so that we've just got a little bit exposed that we're going to connect to the switch here. So that's 30 done. Slide the wires. Slide the tube through PTT bottom. That's this thing, and it's that way round. So slide all that through there. Okay. Now number 5, thread the protruding wires through PTT-MM, which is this tiny thing. Now that tiny thing has got a little bit of a chamfer, a bevel. It's fatter on that side than that side by a little bit. I guess it's not crucial if you don't get that right. But you slide these wires through here, so they go like that. And then you push this into the end, like that. And then we drag the whole lot tight into the bottom piece, and you just jam the silicon nice and securely into this unit. Okay, so just before I drag that in and pull it tight, because once it's tight it's pretty hard to sort of give it a twist and rotate it if you want a slightly different orientation. But orientate it so that you see that little cutaway there? So that these two are sort of in line with that, not at right angles to it. So let's do that now. There we go. You see that? That's pretty tight in there. The wires still slide, but that sort of grip, expanding grip, is pretty well and truly in place. Okay, number 6. Let's connect the wires to the assembled PTT switch. Now, actually, all of step 2 includes putting the tack switch in, which is that. So let's get that in there now. And again, if you check the video, you can see how I've bent these wires in preparation for dropping it in here. And I'll explain the preparation and how, but that goes like that. Okay, and then these wires go like this. Now, you need to get the orientation right. We want that little groove there, that little cutout, we want that towards the side where the wires are going. So that means the black is here and the white's there. Just pause a second, make sure you're clear on what I'm doing and why. Okay, so black on the left is what we want. So we need a little ferrule on here. In fact, the trick I use now is I slide the ferrules on first, bend over the end of the wire, leave just enough wire exposed that you can just bend over a little piece and it won't fall off. Okay, right, let's get this right. Black on the left. Just to be clear, it's only black on the left because that's how the black comes out on the left in here. If I had that twisted around 180 degrees, it would be white on the left. Yeah, the key thing is not to have a twist in the wires. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get this right. So now we bend those back up here, and then careful not to jam a screwdriver into your fingers, but you crush those ferrules down so that they completely recess and don't sort of stick out of the side of the barrel. And of course they hold the wires very securely, which they're doing. That's good. Not too much sticking out there, just a little bit of fray. That's what we want. Let me just pull the black through a little so they're just the right length. There we go. That's how you should see things at the end of step 6. Now we insert the assembled PTT switch in the PTT body. That's this. And again, we'll get the orientation right, so it comes up from, nope, it comes up from there. That's how it goes in. And now if you see there's a little ridge here, can you just make that out? And there's a screw hole there. The screw hole aligns with this hole here. So it goes like this. And there's little channels here which align with channels inside the body. And all of this again depends on calibration so that things line up right. Okay. In that goes. And now if I just pull these wires, that slides up here. The little groove here slots into a little recess, and then the whole unit just drops in like that. And then number 8, just to grip this securely, we have an M2 self-tap screw, goes in that little hole there and bites straight into that bottom piece and holds it firm. Now I just did that now and found it a little bit fiddly. I've taken this apart, put it together a few times. So here's a little tip for you. If you loosen out that bottom piece carefully so you don't drag the wires from the back, and slide out the bottom again. I haven't dislodged any wires, and make sure that that hole is opened out properly. It hasn't. In fact, for the very first time you use it, it'd be good to make sure the hole is firmly there. Nice clear opening. So that's not a problem. And then as we slide this up again, pull the wires from the bottom slightly, get the recess in the back. The hole should be over the top like that. And then just check that the hole is aligned. It might need a little bit of a twist to get the alignment right, and a good way to do that is with just a pin or something. And see, so I'm sort of, if I go like that, I'm just sort of hitting the bottom piece. It's over to the side a bit, and if I just twist it around like that, there we go. I think we're a bit more aligned now. So then if I put the screw over there, try and keep that in place, and yeah, it's going over at an angle, that's fine, it'll pull in, but it goes all the way in. That's the point. It's a good, strong, makes a good bite, and that is really now secure. And just to check, that should be flat underneath. It shouldn't be pushed out because you hadn't got that screw going in the right place. And that's really a nice, strong, secure, safe push to torque switch with the cable at the back. Very nice. So that's number 8 done. Now number 9, nice and simple, is to fit the PTT clip to the PTT body. And you can see, as well as the 3 screw holes here, we have a recess for the head of that self-tap. So that helps you with the alignment. Goes over the top like that. And then these chamfered 3mm, they screw down. Good. Okay, let's put that aside for 1 second. We've got more Minic buttons, although we call them pitch switches here. Here's one, assembled just like the other. I said the heads vary, so this head has got a larger opening. It's a smaller head overall, but it's got more of a cavity at the top above the screw. And another one. These 2 are for the pitch control. So that's, I'm not going to assemble them now, it's just like before, just the wires are different, and number 11 tells you the wiring. Let's do number 12. We'll insert them into the pitch switch holder, which is this. Goes from, that's underneath, so drop them in like this with the wires going towards the middle, aligning the channels. That's one. And the other like that. Nice and easy. That's number 12. Number 13, pitch switch bottom is this, and that slides over the top, and these 2 little half crescenty cutouts are how the wires come through. So let's put the yellow through first, and the black, so it's like that. Pull it 2. And then that clamps everything down with 2 of these round head M3s. And now number 14, we joint these 2 black wires with a 55cm black wire in the middle with this flange screw. So you've seen this jointing before. We strip back from the silicone a good amount, and then we just twist them together like this. Make a little crook, put the flange screw in the middle, slide the crook over, like that, and then bite down on it. A good joint, so to speak. Now that's 14 done. Now this pitch switch holder is going to drop into throttle handle middle, which is this. But before we do it, we need to drop this little piece in, which is what number 15 is all about. Throttle handle middle 2. And that drops in. You can see there's a little bit of a chamfer, a little bit of an angle there. That drops in like this from the top. And then you'll feel that it slots when it's right. So it just slots in nice and securely like that. Okay. In fact, it's probably okay if it drops out a little bit at the moment, because we can put it back in place, but now we can put this in from the top and bring the wires out of this hole here. So let's put those wires through here, pull them all through. Now as that drops over, you can see these two screws here align, these screw holes align, and there's a right way round and a wrong way round, but they look very similar. If you put them like that, the screw holes are a little bit misaligned, and you've got the two press buttons on the left. The proper way round is on the right, so there's the wires coming out here. These screw holes should line up perfectly now on the right. Now number 17, on top of the Minik hat, or as it's called here, a pitch lever, these pitch pegs as they're called. They drop in over the screw heads like that. And then the pitch cover, that's number 18, that goes over the top like that. And we hold that down with M3 8mm round heads. Okay, that's number 18. Goes on very nicely. Okay, number 19, fit the pitch lever to the pitch cover using an M2 8mm round head screw. Now this is a funny one when it's printed. It's printed that way up. You can see that that's very smooth. That was down on the print bed. And therefore, this little piece here sort of printed in mid-air, which is a bit scruffy, and I don't like to do that very often, but it means that the printing underneath this top piece here could just be a little bit scruffy. So before you put this together, make sure that things run through smoothly and maybe clear out just a little bit of debris. But when you got that right, it goes on this way round with the screw head coming from the right, and then we put this M2 screw in here, and it should just go very nicely all the way in and grip on the other side, and then we have a very nice pitch lever. And you should feel, as you press it, there's travel for the spring, and then at the end you can feel the tack switch just click. Yeah, that's very nice. Now number 20 is where we run all of these wires through another piece of silicone. I did say that I think that 2 wires is about the limit for easy threading. Let's see how we get on. I think on this approach I will twist these 2 ends together, and I'll see if I can get 2 through without any trouble. So they're not going through too easy. I happen to have a bit of silicone grease here, so I'm just going to use that. But anything like dishwashing liquid or something would be good. So let's go back to putting 2 in, and let's try now to slide it through. Okay, we're going a lot better here, I can tell. There it is. There it is. Okay, that's the green and black in. And I'm going to use the drag through method to get the yellow in. So just kind of the friction of the yellow against the green and the black means that as I pull the green and black through, the yellow should come through as well. Yeah, that's going. Good, good, good. And hold the yellow as I slide the green and black through a bit. There we go, and do some more pulling, and they both come together. Everything comes together. There is a third method. You've seen me do this before, I think, which is where you just run a little copper wire down through the silicone to start with. That goes in really easily, and then you make a kind of a hook, and you use that copper wire to drag the wires through. So you could do that here if you want. Yes, that's the one. Right, so we've got all our wires through. Let's just tidy that up. Okay, that was number 20. Right, 21 is to slide this cable shaft over the wires in the silicone tube and run that all the way up here. Okay, that holds fairly well, it just sort of sticks in. 22, fit the PTT clip to the throttle lever using 2 pieces of the M3 8mm. So which way round? The handle is going to go like that and the control like that, with the damper at the back, and then the clip will be at the front. So that's the way round. So easier just to show you than describe which way round. So that goes on here. Okay, that's good. Right, and then as I was just showing you, now this can go on here. So M4 14mm countersunk. There we go. Now you can see how it works. Oh, let's just get this back. Now you might just have to fiddle with that PTT cable shaft here. It might get a little bit dislodged as the head, as the body here gets screwed onto the lever. But that's so a little bit of fiddling there. You can get that back where it should be. Anyway, now you can see the action here. We can change the pitch with our thumb, and we can press on the PTT as we're controlling the throttle. A really compact and well featured little unit. So let's move on. We just need to fit the throttle handle cover to the throttle handle. So that is 2 more of the 14mm. Okay, really good. And now number 25, the throttle clip to the throttle lever. That goes on the opposite side, and it goes on that lower of the 2 holes that are exposed. And when you're printing this, you do need to make sure that you print it. One way that you might feel you should print it is that way up, so that's on the bottom. But the strength is not there at all if you do that. It needs to be more. It needs to be that way that it's printed, or even on this angle as a, here we go, this angle as the base. If you print it on that angle, then you get a much stronger print. So that's a thing to be aware of. So on this goes here. Now we can put these wires in. So they go in like this. Like that. And we probably need to have a little bit more of a tighten up again on that. There we go. That puts them out of the way. Number 26, now we can fit the throttle mag hole lever, so this bit here, to the throttle mag hole, and the throttle mag hole is the one with the spiky hair. So that goes on like that. Align the D's. I think there, yeah, that's gone straight on, okay, that's good. And that needs a 6mm countersunk. Yep, good and tight there. And then finally, now we can fit the rotary damper. So the rotary damper goes on top. Make sure that you mesh the teeth of the damper with the teeth of the mag hole. And that is a couple more of the M3 8mm. Tremendous, that is the throttle done. There we go. It's really good resistance there. Really good. Right, we're done with that for now. Now, let's move on to some chunky big stuff. This is interesting, isn't it? We've got the back plate and mounting bottom. And that goes together like that, and it goes together with 2 pieces of M4 8mm round head, which are going through here, and 3 pieces of M4 8mm countersunk, which are going here. So let me get on with that now. Actually, just one thing to point out before this is that the screw thread that you're going into, these screw threads here, they're printed in the vertical. So they're not going to be as precise as a screw thread that's printed if this item was printed this way up. It's often just a little bit a messier print of thread, and that can make things difficult. And that can make things a little difficult when you're trying to just get a good thread and a good bite in it. So I'd recommend putting the screw in first, like that, when you've got a little bit more control over it, and making sure that the threads are properly made in the plastic. And then you'll find it easier to put the screws in from the side at this slightly more odd angle. I'd say this is a situation where the handy 3D printed screwdriver is not as easy to work with as a long regular screwdriver. And that's particularly so for these, because you need in fact to run the screwdriver through this access hole on the right hand side if you're going to get a good angle to get those screws in. But there we go. Fantastic. Okay, step 2 of the back plate. Insert the bottom felt plate, so that's this one, to the back plate. And that goes on like this, with the felt on the upper side. And now, number 3, we can fit the throttle mag hole to the back plate using 3 pieces of M4 6mm. So turn it over, wires uppermost like that. Flip that round, and in go the 6mm. Very good. Very nice. Number 4, fit 3 pieces of stand high to the back plate posts. Now, you've got stand high and stand low, and you can see those are the 3 stand high, and those are the 3 low. So it's obvious which is which now. So over here, the stand high. Stand low for later. Okay, now we're up to step 5. Fit the engine mag hole, that's the one with the red, blue, white, to the engine mag hole plate, aligning the cutouts and using 3 pieces of M4 6mm. So they come through the back like that, and the cutouts for the wires, we need to just thread those through. So threading the wires through the holes first. So let's just do that. In it goes, and then the 6mm on the back. Now number 6, we fit the engine mag hole plate, there we go, to the middle felt plate using 3 pieces of M4 8mm. So it goes in that way and aligning those cutouts like that. And then we need the 8mm in here. Okay, there we go. So number 7, we're going to fit the engine mag hole lever to the engine lever, and that's going to be with 2 pieces of M4 8mm. Now we have 2 grey levers, one's for the pump, one's for the engine, and we have 2 mag levers, again, one for the pump, one for the engine. So which goes with which? Well, this has been changing every few days as we've been developing this, just to fine-tune a few tolerances and so on. I've got a feeling that by the time you get this kit, one of these will have pump written on and one will have engine written on, or at least a P and an E. But another way of differentiating them is that the engine one does not have the countersinks in the back. So that's the engine one, and the countersinks are in the mag lever, and that goes like that. Now also possibly the version you get, the shape of that lever is a little less lozenged at the end, a little narrowed, and it should be just as wide as the grey one. But no difference apart from that. So that's the combination for the engine, and that's the combination for the pump. The pump one's very obvious because it has a recess for a ball spring, and then, as I say, it's got the chamfers and the recess for the screws. So that's the pump, put that away. This is the engine, and let's put that together with the 8mm. Should be a good tight fit. Okay, so that's the engine mag hole lever and engine lever. Now number 8, we fit the knob top and knob bottom. Now there was, earlier on we had engine knob top and engine knob bottom and pump knob, but they're identical is the point I'll jump to. And they go on like this. Okay, like that. But let's get it the right way around. We want the screw underneath so it's not as obvious. So that will be on top, so let me swap it round. Okay, that looks better. Hides the screw that way. Then in goes the 8mm. Okay, good and secure. So that's the engine mag lever all made up. And we can, number 9, fit the engine mag haul lever to the engine mag haul. That's this. And we'll do that with an M4 6mm countersunk. So that goes on like that. Okay. So now you can see how this lever handles that side, and the throttle is on that side. So we're nearly there on putting this whole back plate together. That's number 9 done. Fit the middle felt plate to the back plate. So there it goes. With this engine lever down here, not sort of up here, down here. And that gets held down with an M4 10mm countersunk. That goes in here. Okay, now we've got 2 levers working. Very nice. And then just to finish this section, let's find those 2 stand lows. They go over the back plate posts. So those posts here. Done. Okay, front plate, number 1, fit the friction knob to the friction bowl, that's the friction bowl, using an M4 8mm countersunk. This is a lovely bit of design, I like this. I really like the way this comes out. That'll do. Now number 2, fit the pump mag haul, which is the only one left. This has got the red, black, green to the pump mag haul plate, using 3 pieces of M4 6mm. Okay. Now number 3, fit the friction bowl to the pump mag haul plate, using 4 pieces of M4 8mm. So that you see there's 4 holes right on the edges there, and there's holes there on the edges. It can only go that way, and it wouldn't work that way at 90. So you can align those holes up. There we go. And put the screws in from this side. Right, there we go. That's number 3 done. And now number 4. We fit the pump mag haul plate, there we go, to the front plate using 3 pieces of M4 8mm. So you can see there's 3 holes here. Drop it that way. There we go. And this is what I like about the design. Creates a very nice front appearance there. That curved bit just slots in very nicely. And we put these in. Okay, there it is. There we go. Okay, number 5. Fit the winter clip, that's this thing, to the front plate. Use such that the printed nut is on the right hand side. So the point is it could go, it's going there, but not that way around. You want the nut on the right hand side, and do that with the M3 6mm countersunk. Good. Fit the winter tube to the winter clip. That's the winter tube to the winter clip from the right hand side. So that's a screw-in fit to engage the second threaded section of the winter tube. So you get the first threaded section, then it slides through, and we get the second threaded section engaged. Okay, to be almost flush against it, but do not tighten yet. So let's add just a little bit of slack in there. Fit the winter nut to the winter tube. So we've got 2 things that look like a winter nut, but one of them has a screw thread underneath, so it's the one without the screw thread. Okay, so fit the winter nut to the winter tube so that the second threaded section is engaged. That's number 7. Flush to the winter clip. Do not tighten yet again, so that's twice, do not tighten yet. Fit winter nut 2, so that is this one, to the winter tube, engaging the first threaded section. So that goes on here. it is. Align to where the hole in the front plate is, because we're going to put a screw underneath. Okay, it hasn't asked us to do that yet, but let's get that alignment right. Maybe one more twist. That should do it. Tighten the winter nut and the winter tube and the winter nut so you can still access the screw shaft. The screw shaft is, there we go, that's the screw shaft, which should point downwards, as in that way. So we align it that way, and now we tighten the winter tube and the winter nut so it stays pointed down. Just finger tight's enough. Fit the winter handle to the winter tube, so the winter handle goes in here, and that has a screw hole. So what happens is that goes in here, and you can see the screw hole through the slot, and we fit that in place with a flange screw and a winter washer. This tiny little washer here. Check the tightness so you can still move the winter handle without excessive force. So let's just show you what's going on here. That goes in here, in goes the screw. Get a little bit of friction, but not too much. Okay, that's what we're looking for. We've got, it'll slide, but it's snug. It's not shaking about. That's what we're after. Okay, that was number 10. Number 11, tie to the winter tube and the winter nut. I think we've already done that one. Number 12, winter nut 2 to front plate. Okay, that's winter nut 2 to the front plate. There's a screw hole there. Check. There's alignment of that nut. I can see there, I don't know if you can, that it looks aligned. So in we go with an 8mm. So that's an M4 8mm countersunk that goes in there. Okay, so that's in, and now we fit the top felt plate to the front plate. So let's flip that over, and here's our top felt plate. Goes on like that with the felt upside. The posts are slightly below, so in other words the plate's slightly proud of those posts. That's okay. And we fit the pump mag hole lever to the pump lever. There's the pump mag hole lever with the countersinks in the top. And we're using 14mm countersunk screws. So let's get those in. Okay, like that. And the knob top, just like before. So the knob, this you have to remember now, let's put the screw on the underside. Looks prettier that way. And then with an 8mm countersunk. Okay, that's assembled. And now we fit the pump mag hole lever to the pump mag hole, to this, using an M4. So align the D's, and we've also got this very nice ball spring detent action. Okay, there it is. So now that's fabulous, isn't it? So let's fasten that down with an M4 6mm. Very good. That's a great action. That's really good. Okay, that was number 17. Number 18. The nameplate Schnell stop. Now that's down here because this is the engine on off. And there's another one which is going up here, which is the winter start zug, which is by that winter handle. So these are fitted with M2 self-tapping. So let's put that in here. Okay, that's in. That's the Schnell stop in. And the nameplate winter, that goes in the same way. Self-tapping. Okay, and it goes. Found that one. Fantastic. They're in. Okay, number 20. We fit the throttle limiter. That's a little bracket here. And that goes to the front plate with 2 of these M4 8mm round head. Okay, number 21, a 12mm of the same round head. That goes in to set the throttle limit, and it actually needs to be quite extended, so that kind of thing there is what we're looking for. That is that section finished. Let's move on to the governor switch. So this is essentially a McClick lever, slightly different to the one you've seen me use before. It's a bit sort of trimmed down, but it assembles just the same way. So you have what our designers called a governor wig and a governor wig 2. These are the same click levers as we've had before. So that's the top, and that's the bottom. So it's obvious with the hole in the bottom. So what we do is we put the screw through the bottom like that. It's the M8, it's the M28mm. Then we put the bearing over it, and then that's the top of it, and then we bring these two together here. Okay, fairly tight, but not so that this starts to separate here. So just loosen off a little bit there, and that'll spin freely. Okay, and then the other bearing goes underneath like that, and then the 12mm comes through the top like that, and then easiest thing is to hold it like this, then we screw it down onto the McClick base, which is called here the governor switch bottom. Right, in that goes, and with this design, because everything is really pared back for low profile, it almost pokes out the bottom. And then what you have to do is make sure that this is moving freely. So you need to take off, well, drive it through good and tight first, and then take some off so that that moves. But you don't want it sliding up and down. It's a little bit of play, but that's the freedom we need. Okay, that's good. Okay, now we connect the wires to the two switches. The lengths are here. 5 centimeters black for one, 45 of green, 15 black for the other, 50 of yellow. Now it's important which side gets the 5, which gets the 15. The way that this is best done is you put the switches in like this. Like that. The 5 is going to be on the left and the 15 is going to be on the right, because that has to travel across more. So let's put the black ones on the bottom, and then the yellow and the green above it. So we'll go green on the right, yellow on the left. So we put our ferrule over the wire, slide that on. Good twist as usual. Ferrule over the wire, slide it on. Okay, slot that back in place. Just hold it for now. Don't throw them about. The other side, ferrule. And the bottom one. Okay, carefully align the wires. Good, and now we just crush them down. So it's not too risky for damaging, putting a screwdriver through your fingers or anything, this one, because everything's out of the way. That should be a good, secure joint. Fantastic. Okay, so that's what we're doing there with the wires. I've got a little crossover of the order of the instructions here. Your version will be the right way around. Okay, number 5. Fit a 6700 bearing, that's that type, to the governor peg. Goes like that. Fit the governor peg to the governor switch top, like that. Now that might need a good press in. It needs to be virtually touching the two pieces there. So that'll be a test of your calibration. But that's what you're after. Fit the governor switch top to the governor switch bottom. So that's that. And that is done with 2 pieces of M2 12mm, which go in these holes, the outer ones, not the inner ones here. And then a couple of M3 6mm. So let's put the 6mm up here. They go up here. And then the other one up there. And then the M2s go here. Apologies, it's the inner ones, not the outer ones. That holds everything tight, and it holds these wires tight as well, which is very important. Okay, number 8, fit the governor switch, which is essentially the McClick, to the governor base. So it goes in like that. And that's done with 3 pieces of M4 6mm countersunk. Now actually I remembered something that will make life easier for you, which is this. Let's take those off. Because we need to thread these black and green wires through this little wire guide. And it'll be easier to do it now than later. So let's get those in here. If you do it in the order of the instructions, it's fine. It's just a bit more fiddly. Okay. So don't worry that the wires are a little bit loose and a bit random at the moment. But now we will put the McClick back into the governor case. Okay, so there it's the black from the right and the green. Yellow's on the left. So let's put these back in again now. Okay, number 9, we fit a 684ZZ bearing, that's one of these, to the governor knob, and it goes here, like that. And now, number 10, we fit governor knob 2, which is this tiny thing. It's a brassy coloured thing here, because I took this off some other part that I dismantled. And that is held into this governor knob with an M2 8mm screw. So I'm just running that M2 8mm from the kind of flangey end through governor knob 1, or governor knob it's called, yeah, and the screw pops out the top, and that holds the bearing firmly, and it moves nice and freely. So that was 10. Fit number 11 is to put the knob onto the peg there. We do that with a 10mm. And have you noticed while I've been doing this, or so, oh, that's a bit tight. Oh, there we go, I had it jammed against the edge. Now I'll tighten it up properly. Yeah, good, moves nice and freely. Perhaps you may also have noticed that through the magic of video, the green wire has turned into a yellow wire, and the yellow wire on the left's turned into a green wire, which is how it should have been at the start. So we can carry on without me having to put little notes over the top. I could have re-recorded that section, but for the like 20 seconds or 1 minute of video, that would have been another hour, I assure you, of not quite doing things right, and things are in the wrong order, and so I have to redo it. So little cheating there. Okay, we move on now. We fit the ball plunger to the governor detent, which is this sort of like Star Wars-y thing, X-Fighter-y kind of thing. Looks like quite an interesting spaceship, doesn't it? And that goes in like that, and it goes over the governor switch top here. It fits over, and you can see what's happening here. We get a nice little clicking action. We're going to demonstrate in a second. And we hold that down with M3 6mm. Okay. And now it says run both the black wire and the yellow wire through the wire guide loop. We've done it already, and it's easier to do because there's less space, you can see now, to do that. But we do pull these snug and tight so that they stay well out of the way of the moving lever. So that's what I'm doing now. And we connect both the black wires, these two, with to a common wire post, which is that one, with a 30cm wire using the usual flange screw. So I'll do that now. There we go. That's not coming out. Okay, so now we have a single black wire, which is a common ground for both sides of these switches. And oh, I didn't demonstrate, did I? Here we go. I think this is a great switch. What a lovely, very definite action that is. I can see people wanting to use this for many different things. And it's a great designed knob as well, isn't it? With all the textures and the detail on it. So well done to Dutch for designing that. 16. 2 15cm black silicon tubes. Run these through to the governor base and run the wires through them. So we will put 2 wires through one, but first we need to put these wires out through the holes. Okay, now we can run it through the silicon. Now 2 short wires through 15cm of silicon should be no trouble. Yeah, don't think you'll have any trouble with the friction of sliding those. And then it's just a case of kind of jamming them through the holes. Yeah, I'm finding a kind of just a twisting action seems to be the best way. So twisting and pushing seems to be the best way to just slowly drive the silicon into the through the holes there. Right. Now that is looking good. So now we fit the governor lid, which is this, to the governor base using 4 pieces of 30mm countersunk. Okay, that is very strong, and we have a fabulous switch action. Now number 18. We're about to fit this governor switch to the base here, and then these tubes go through. There is an oval shaped hole there, but the easiest thing is to get the silicon tubes through the hole first. So do it this way. Let's do the right hand side first, which will be the, I guess, the upper. That goes through quite easily. Then the left hand side. And then shouldn't be too hard to push both black tubes through this hole. A bit of kind of twisting. There we go. Can you see that there? That's kind of what we want, and that should hold fairly snug. And then we turn that round. Probably pull a little bit more, or play with these a bit more in a second. But what I'll do now is fit the base, which is 19, to the mounting bottom with a couple of 10mm countersunk screws, 2 holes here. What you might do first, because these screw holes are printed in the vertical and sort of side on, is just get those holes opened out neatly. Right, let's get them in. There it is. Really good, nice and strong. And then play with these tubes a bit, make them look pretty. Actually, that looks pretty good. I like the way that goes. Right, number 20, run all the wires through the lowest back plate hole to mounting bottom, so into here. So we're talking about just the wires that come from the governor switch. Let's not worry about these other wires for now. But just to point out to you, there's 4 holes where we're going to run wires. Don't know how well this is coming across, but there's one there, one there, one there, one there. So it's the lowest of those, the right hand side one. So let's get that wire through there. A green, a black, and a yellow. Okay. It'll stand low, falling off. And now we're going to wire something up right now. So this is the wired up to RJ49 slot H9, so the bottom one here. And let's just check the wiring on that. It's probably the standard one of the ground, then a space, then a yellow, then a space, then a green. That's easy enough. So strip the tiniest bit. Some people say don't strip it, just let the teeth of the RJ45 grab it, but I've had problems before where with all the pushing and pulling you find that you might press through the silicon and discover that the wire has drawn itself back so it's not even at the end, so you don't bite into anything. So for that and various reasons, on balance, I think it's best to expose a little bit of wire. So black, then space, then I've forgotten already, then yellow. Have I done that right? Black space, yellow space, green. That is a big milestone, isn't it? Now let's pop this through the hole. And it's in. That's the governor switch. Let's put these wires out of the way a little bit. And another big section done. And in fact we're very close to the end now. We're on the new wiring section. So we run the engine wires. So let's get these out of the way. And these. What is that? That's okay. Those are the throttles. So this is the engine. And we haven't got the pump yet. That's on the front plate. So these are the engine wires. So we're going to run the engine wires through the lowest of the 3 wire guide channels. So there's a channel, and there's a channel. So a nice little innovation from Dutch in terms of these channels is that we can just click them in. Great, isn't it? In they go and they move freely. So click, click, and click. Alright, so those are the engine wires through the lowest channel and then through to mounting bottom via the nearby hole. So by each of the channels there's a hole, so there's 3 holes, 3 channels. So let's run these wires through. Okay, good. Okay, number 2, we're going to run the pump wires from the front plate through the large post, which is that, and then the same wire channel as the engine wires. Let's get these wires out of the way. And then with a little bit of twisting and maybe a little bit of fishing out, these wires will appear at the bottom. Okay, those are the wires emerging from the post, and now we just click them into the same lower channel as the engine wires. Just being slow and cautious with this, because what we don't want to do is shake things about and rip those wires out of the pump mag hole there. So that's one in. Great, so that should be 6 wires now emerging from that lower hole. Yeah, that looks right. That looks right. Okay, that was number 2. Number 3, run the throttle wires. So these are the ones here, coming from the underside of this plate, and they go through the middle channel on the back plate and the associated holes. So let's do that. Okay, number 4, connect all the red wires. So so there's no red wires in the top piece here for the pitch, but we're talking about the wires that came from the throttle, that shortish one there, and this one here, and then a third one, 3, should be 3, plus a fresh 20 centimeter, is it? Yep, red wire to common post B, that's the lower post here, so that all 3 turn into 1. That's the point of that. So strip back a big piece. And there it goes. Okay, so it's getting a little bit untidy. Let's just pull things free a little bit. So now we have a blue and a black and a red. There's a white. Yep. Got our common reds. They're I'm not using those now, they're done. And I've popped this blue and the white out the side there. Good. So we'll be dealing with those in a second. But now we're going to run the pitch and PTT silicon tubes through the hole in the back plate. So there is a hole here. And then through the top wire guide, which is that, and then the hole there. So more wires to deal with. So let's get these in. So let's just make sure now that at full travel we aren't tearing these wires out. What I might do, in fact, at this point is slide a little bit more of the silicon through from above. There we go. So there's a bit more play at the back. That's better. Okay, make sure we've got some freedom at the back for movement. Right, so we've got the black silicon, both black silicon through that hole there, and then that gives us 5 wires which go through, I'll take this out of the way now, 5 wires which go through this top channel. Okay, that looks rather tidy, very nice wiring. Let's move on to number 6, where we connect both the pitch and the PTT. So these 2 black wires plus an additional 20 centimeter black wire to common post A. So usual arrangement. There it is. Excellent. That's well held. And now we're up to step 7, which is to fit the 2 remaining RJ45 sockets. So let's get the wiring diagram for that. We've got the throttle H2, which is the normal throttle RJ45, and then we have some extra inputs because we've got more going on here. We've got to accommodate the RPM, which is not a kind of an input that a normal throttle lever has. So we've got, let's do H2 first, which is the throttle one. So that's the regular throttle one. So that is the common red. There's only one of those, so no confusion about that. Then we have the blue from the throttle. So we can pick that out because the throttle is the middle channel. So that we know that's the blue from the throttle. Then we have the black from the pump. So there's only one black from the pump. So no confusion about that. Then we have the blue from the engine, so that's the other one, which is the lower channel. Then we have the white from the throttle, so the throttle is the upper channel. Then we have the green from the pump. It's only one green, no problem there. Then we have the white from the engine. So that's the only white remaining now, isn't it? No, it's not the only white remaining actually, but it's the white from the lower channel, which is the engine. And then we have a white from the PTT, which is the upper channel. There it is. Just check for no stray bits. I think I've got a sticky up bit here I don't like the look of. I'm going to pull that out, give it a good twist, put it down again. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so that is H2. So let's get that clicked in. Very good. And not as much going on with H7, which is the middle one. We have a common black. I've done that already. Okay, that's the black in. Now let's get the yellow in. So it's black, skip one, yellow. Yep. Skip one, green. Yep, that's good. In that goes. Brilliant. Right, that is all the wiring for the RJ45 sockets. So we're up to test and final assembly, and the first point it makes here is a reminder that the governor switch won't work by default. Meaning that even though it has a connection to the H9 socket, the H9 socket on the current version of the Universal Hub, version 1, standard configuration, the H9 socket is not live because we're out of inputs. However, if you want to use the governor switch, there are workarounds, and one of them is you can make the H9 socket live by taking some inputs from something else you might not be using. And one option would be you might not be flying the Spitfire, in which case you wouldn't need the dual fire button, the machine gun and the cannon. So you could take out column 1 and 2 from the BU circuit board. So leave the wires running to the input for the stick, but just pull them out of column 1 and 2 and connect column 1 and 2 to H9 on the Universal Hub. And then you could have full functionality for that. And I guess you could swap them back and forth without huge effort as an interim measure. Okay, so that was the point on point 1. Step 2, before final assembly, it's a good time to test the wiring. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to have faith. And also, it would be a little tricky for my video here to have a little screenshot of the game controller with all of this mess on the table. So I'm going to take a chance on that. I'm going to go to point 3, which is to bring the front plate and the back plate together. And the point it makes here is we don't like snags where there are moving parts, so we're going to take some of that slack. And that slack is the red, the black and the green. So let's find those. I think it's this green. Yep. Take some of that away. And which black is it? Yeah, that's it. That one. And yeah, that red. Okay. Not all of it, just enough so that there's no slack potentially snagging. And then we can bring this together, make sure that the little gap here disappears, and there, that's good. That was 0.3. Connect them up is 0.4. The back has 40mm countersunk, the front has 50mm round. Let's do the front first while we're here. Don't drive these too tight, just make it a secure fit. Don't want to put too much stress on the plastic parts inside. That's enough to hold it firmly. And we'll close that gap up with the 14mm on the back. So it's drop those in. That's going to need a longer screwdriver, isn't it? And again, don't drive these too tight. Okay, number 5, so that's the Visa dovetail, them 4/8mm screws. You know what, I forgot to print a dovetail, so I'm just going to take it off the back of my P51 prototype. It's almost there, a few things needed. So let's do that. There we go. Okay, number 6, that's winter cable holder bottom, that's mounting top. I'm going to connect them with 2 pieces of M3 6mm flange that comes through the back like this. These are really nice touches, aren't they? He's taken the extra effort to finish this off really beautifully. Okay. Okay, number 7, fit winter cable holder top, which is this, to winter cable holder bottom using 2 pieces of M3 8mm. And we're going to grip a piece of 7cm silicone tube, about 7cm, might be slightly longer, as we do that. So let's just get that there. That should be able to slide a bit. We'll have to adjust the length of that slightly. And fit mounting top to mounting bottom with 2 pieces of M4, and on it goes. Like that. In fact, I pushed that silicone out the wrong side. So 6mm in there, 6mm in here. Great. And then just to finish off that 0.8 or 0.7, 0.8 is, let's just slide that little piece up there so it pushes into the back of the winter cable lever. Lovely stuff. Yeah, obviously you can have that be a bit longer if you like. A final one here, fit the PTT cap. It was saved until last, just so it doesn't sort of drop out or need to be reassembled. So that's the PTT cap. It's kind of one side with a ridge on the edge and one side that's flat. So put the flat bit down and just press that in there, and it should, if you've calibrated right, it should stay in and just sort of have a little bit of a grip about it. And that is that. There we go. So we can run the throttle like that. Kleiner, smaller, grosser, bigger, so that'll be pitch, smaller pitch, bigger pitch. Press the PTT, out with the throttle, and we've got pump positions, and then engine off and engine on. Now actually there's something in the assembly information, in the download, which we'll do in a second. It'll probably appear before the end of this video. I'll just flash it on screen quickly, and that is a little sticker or a cutout that you can glue onto the top, which will mark the pump positions and just add a little bit more authenticity. But let's leave that until I can get to it. We're up to 9, which is congratulations, we've done it. And then we need to talk about how to connect this up to your sim. And we're going to need the tuning app for that. So what we'll do as the next step, before I get into that, I'll just show you this connected up to the universal hub, and we'll check that these inputs are all working, producing the output we expect, and then we need to do a little bit of a tuning app configuration to enable the discrete pump positions of P0, P1, P2 and P1 plus 2, and we need to turn that from an axis into an on-off input. So we can do all of that. So let's switch over to the configuration now. It is time to configure. So let's explain what we've got here. We have the BF109 Throttle. I've got a universal hub there, and I've got my laptop on the table, which I'll take out of the way in a second, but I'm just going to show you everything I do so that there's no confusion what's happening. So we've got the universal hub, and that's the USB. I'm going to plug it in a minute, but one of the rules with AuthentiKit is you should plug in the Ethernet, the RJ45s, before you power up the universal hub. So let's start with H2 being the regular throttle input. It goes to throttle. I'll use this longer black one for the H7, which is the two-way, rad two-way, which is going to be the RPM, the pitch control, sorry. Then we've got H9, which is going to be miscellaneous for the governor. And I have configured this universal hub so that the cannon and machine gun are going to H9. Okay, so now we'll power up the universal hub. So that's in. I will run joy.cpl, which is the same thing as essentially launching the game controllers. So there's the game controller. We can see AuthentiKit. Let's do properties on that, and let's go through everything. Now, I'm just going to take the laptop off the desk here. Let's work through. So, let's start with the engine. Schnell stop. Okay, so that's working as an axis right now. Then we have the pump. Brilliant. And then we have the regular throttle lever. Now it's not calibrated. Let's do that in a second. Right, let's move on. Grosser. Okay, you can see that flashing. Is it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 5 for Kleiner. PTT. That's 3. And then governor. Yep. 1 and 2. Brilliant. Let's do a quick calibration, because otherwise things are going to be a little bit messed up, particularly on the pump positions. So I will hit calibrate, settings, calibrate, calibration complete. So now we should see, yep, nice full travel. Complete, working perfectly. The next step, we need to use the tuning kit, because we need to convert Schnell stop into an on-off, and we need to convert the pump into 4 discrete positions. Now actually, before I get into the tuning app, I should explain a little more, because the point is to send the sim the signals it expects to produce the actions we want, and that varies according to the sim. DCS, for example, can engage individual pump positions with designated inputs. So, the method I'll show you will trigger virtual joystick button 1 when the off position is engaged, button 2 for P1, button 3 for P2, and button 4 for P1 and P2. We'll also map button 5 to engine off and button 6 to button on. How do you like that sticker, by the way? Looks very nice. Anyway, however, when it comes to the Flying Iron Simulations 109G for Microsoft Flight Simulator, we have the issue that MSFS does not expose the sim variables we need to get at. Certainly at the moment anyway. I think they'll improve things one day. So I'm going to show you a different solution. There is a category of software application used by serious sim builders for getting under the bonnet of Microsoft Flight Simulator to talk to just about every level of the simulator, from aircraft selection, stopping the sim, and every control in the cockpit. I've looked at a few and had conversations with various developers, and the one that I like a lot, and I've been using for a while myself, is spad.next. It's not only powerful, but I find the user interface nice to use. We're using it at the RAF for the fuel selector and the magnetos to do things we simply couldn't have done otherwise. However, not only does it allow communications with sim variables, it also includes the functionality that we have in our tuning app, and much more in fact, so you don't need the tuning app or VJoy. The downside, I'm afraid, is that it isn't free. However, I've been discussing this with the developer, and he's agreed to give AuthentiKit community members a very generous 30% discount. Now, I'm not going to cover spad.next in this video because there's more to say about it, and I've been finding it very useful, in fact, for a range of things. So I'll follow up soon with a dedicated video, as well as details of how to get the discount. If you're in a hurry, Spad offers a 14-day, fully functional, try before you buy download. So in summary, if you're flying in DCS, stay with me and I'll explain the tuning app solution. If you're keen to get the Flying Irons 109 due out any minute now, go ahead, build your throttle and wait for my spad.next video. Okay, so here's the tuning app. It's configured in a way that you might find familiar. And if not, please follow my link in the description for installing the tuning app along with VJoy, which it requires. The config we've got loaded here is the Spitfire Mark 9 one. So we're going to load in a different one for the 109. We don't currently have a preset. If you see up here, there are presets. We don't have a preset for this at the moment, but we may do soon. However, the download includes an XML file that you can load in. There we go. That you can load in and set up the configuration you need. And there's also a PDF in the download that explains the configuration in more detail. So I'll just load in this BF109.xml. I should point out that when I've shared this file with our beta tester, the input axes, there we go, you can see the input axes, didn't load, as we suspect they have different internal IDs in different PCs. So if you have that, just set the axes like this. We've got 3 booster pump mappings, off to P1, P1 to P2, P2 to P1 plus P2, and they all need to be AuthentiKit X rotation, or it may well say BU0836 X rotation, but the point is it's X rotation. And same one there, that should be X rotation, and booster pump should be X rotation. You should be seeing the VJoy options if you've installed things properly, and see my video about the AuthentiKit tuning app if you don't see those. And then the fourth one is the engine cutoff. And for that you need to choose Y rotation. And it's buttons 5 and 6, but they should load in okay. Okay, let's test. So let's start these. I have had problems with this where you do start all. So I'm just going to start them individually. And then we'll just shrink that and we will open USB game controllers. And now we're looking at VJoy. We know what AuthentiKit does. That's got the axes in it, but VJoy is what we're interested in now. Because now we want to see, if we go to, yep, did you see number 2 click? And number 1 clicked here. 2 to that position, 3 to that position, 4 to that position, and then back again. So those are the 4 positions of the pump enabled by 4 buttons. And then here's the engine start. Great. That was a 6 flash, and that's a 5 flash. Perfect. Nice and simple. And here's a reminder of the mappings for DCS. I will be back as soon as I can with the spad.next video to go with these Flying Irons 109 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that concludes this assembly video for the BF109 Throttle. I'm assured by Flying Iron Simulations that there's a lovely 109 out any minute now, so you'd better get printing. Many thanks to the community for helping grow AuthentiKit into such an amazing freeware project, and in this case, special thanks to Dutch, Nadelbaum and Phil Shepard. Dutch has made quite a few other controls, but they haven't been through the testing and release process yet for a fully certified AuthentiKit control. If you want to get your hands on them earlier, you'll find him on Discord. And in the meantime, I'm pressing on with the P51D throttle and the Hawk flight stick. So stay tuned and get subscribed if you're not already. Bye for now, folks.